What is EF's strategy in getting that adoption, gaining that adoption, and not losing the game of like institutional onboarding? And this question is specifically for you, Matt.
Yeah, there's many aspects, but I think fundamentally it all comes back to the tech still. Like you did a great job of explaining it there, but institutions will have many motivations, lots of proofs of concept, but I think fundamentally what will stick around and be successful is what leverages the technology to improve the existing service. It's like if you, like currently there's so many intermediaries who all take a fee, all take a slice of the pie, and by bringing tech stacks on chain, they can massively like disintermediate themselves, and that is a lot of people would consider that bringing, let's say, a tokenized fund on chain now is actually more risky than just natively minting on chain. I think that in the next few years, regulators will actually flip that thought and understand that not minting on chain is actually riskier, not just from the fact that you're using a trusted system and moving to trustless, but also from a financial perspective where all of the fees that are being taken at every single step, it just isn't acceptable. But all of that has to be grounded in trust and on a neutral platform. So you mentioned Swift. The reason Swift's successful is because it's a conglomerate or cooperative of banks. No one wants to build on another bank's blockchain. No one wants to build on rails or infrastructure that's owned by someone else. And so neutrality and resilience, I mean, we can talk all day about resilience. Hamza worked in the risk department. That's all banks think about. And the uptime of a blockchain is going to be absolutely critical. So really, it's all grounded in the technical side of things, and we just help to educate institutions on that side of it.
What is a curator's job? Because a lot of institutions that are not familiar with how blockchain works, or what are the strategies they should do, they probably start looking into curators that have been probably trading for many years and are familiar with DeFi. But what do curators do?
In one word, risk management. That's by far the most important thing. I'm not sure if everyone here has followed recent events in the last 2 weeks, but with the Stream Finance collapse, we were actually, I think, the only curator in the top 5 that was not exposed to any of the collaterals involved, in any shape. And that's XUSD from Stream Finance, and Elixir staked stablecoin. So in the end, the curators that are going to win are the ones that do the least amount of errors on the long term. So it's really like a Lindy game. The institutions are going to come once it's Lindy enough, and they're going to go to the names that have the best reputation. So short-term TVL doesn't really matter. Actually, when these problems happened, there was a huge liquidity crunch in Morpho. And our first response was to maximize liquidity to allow people to exit. So our high yield vault on Morpho was 250 million, more or less, before this started. And at the bottom, it was at 60 million. So we lost 75% of our TVL. And we helped people do that. So we were the most liquid vault during that time period because we know that people are going to come back. This is a temporary panic, which is reasonable because people see that there are these problematic collaterals, and the first ones that are going to go out are going to have the easiest time to go out. So it's completely understandable from the user perspective. So we help them do that, and we hope that they're eventually going to come back. And we're already back at 125 million. So we're not back to our original point, but it's going there. So yeah.
Okay, it's good to know, but there's, of course, risk involved, right? I want to know Hamza's take on curators. Do you guys work with curators, or do you curate your own strategies on chain, or you haven't even gotten to that point yet?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I have an opinion from my risk management background. So within a bank, you have sort of like a 3 lines of defense. So you have the business, they do the actual asset management as a curator, for example. But you also have the second line. So you also have risk people at the second line. And then you have audit people. That's the third line. But actually, if you see now within DeFi, in my opinion, it's sort of like the asset manager is also the risk manager, and there's no one else who's really like having like a independent opinion. So if you have that kind of like governance structure, maybe that could also give some more assurance from an independent point of view to the people who are putting money in all the vaults, because it's, in my opinion, still quite intransparent for people who are not really into the topic. So from an outsider, it's like, okay, I put money into it, and it's more based on reputation. So Steakhouse has a good reputation, Gauntlet, for example. But the other ones, Stream, it was sort of like looping and leverage and collateral and then back again. But no one knew.
Now, more even infrastructure side, wallets. Like a lot of institutions talking about, oh, we need a custodian. But you know, custodians are so slow integrating features on DeFi. Like it's such a headache for a custodian to get to like integrate to this DeFi platform. But I want to like ask this from Evgeny. Like, how many moves you guys made to actually make using wallets more reasonable for institutions? And are you actually in touch with regulator to actually make that much more seamless for onboarding institutions?
Right. So I think on the Zerion wallet side, we have quite a few like funds who are using that for their portfolio view. So we have companies like hedge funds. They are looking at their exposure, so they can look at they can add all of their wallets and see how their assets is split across chains, so they can like do the risk management as well. But our main focus still has been on the API side for the institutions, like bigger companies that we're working with. So with them, I think a lot of companies are interested in bringing self-custody into the game, because there's like first a bit of the regulatory, I would say, arbitrage, because as the moment you build a custodial solution, you suddenly have a much higher, like stricter requirements on how you need to protect that, versus if you are trying to experiment with something new and give more power, I guess, to your end consumers, you're much more happy to work with a self-custody wallet. So that's where we've seen this like neobanks moving in the direction of self-custody. So they would have a bit of custodial, but they would start adding more and more self-custodial things. And I think that's going to be a good trend. I think for like financial institutions, it's somewhat easy to add custodial solutions, but as we go broader, so we look at, say, like more consumer applications of this world, they are not as used to holding the custody over users like funds, for example. So for them, it's much more natural to go the self-custody route. And then we'll see like, consumer applications start adding crypto or like stable coins through the self-custody route. Like this is what we've seen so far.